Xu Cheng has been reborn. In this life, she was no longer a Virgin Mary, refused to marry on her behalf, and freed herself from the fate of domestic violence. The lover who relied on her in her previous life did not recognize her, and mistakenly identified the malicious true daughter as her. She sacrificed herself to save him, but in exchange, she treated him coldly. Xu Cheng left cruelly. She also did not hold on to her foster parents and returned to the legendary impoverished family. Unexpectedly, the biological parents who were said to have been living a miserable life in a poverty-stricken county with 7 dragging oil bottles were the richest in China. Her 5 brothers are all big shots in various fields of China. Xu Cheng no longer hides his clumsiness. The first national doctor, the genius of fragrance mixing, and the queen of heavenly music have all had their vests peeled off. At this moment, the man finally recognized Xu Cheng. The tall man held on to her high heels, his narrow eyebrows and eyes flushed with love. Chengcheng, I realized my mistake. Can you forgive me? Chapter 1. Rebirth. Return to the past tense. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bang bang bang. The knocking on the door was harsh and piercing, causing Xu Cheng's head to suddenly ache. In an instant, memories flooded in like a tide. She was reborn. In the previous life, Xu Cheng was a fake daughter who was held by the Xu family wrong. She married a domestic violence man on behalf of the real daughter, and only divorced and remarried after being beaten to half disability. As life began to improve, she unexpectedly died. God gave her a chance to start over. Now, the Xu family has not yet recognized their biological daughter, and due to financial difficulties, Xu Cheng needs to fulfill his engagement and marry into the Fu family. Xu Cheng refused and ran to the rental house to hide. Chengcheng, are you at home? Mom has been kicked out by the Xu family. Hurry up and open the door for Mom. The soft voice of a woman came from outside the door, and Xu Cheng couldn't help but feel nauseous. In her past life, she trusted her mother Xu and gave her address to her partner. Upon learning that his mother had been expelled from the Xu family, Xu Cheng naturally wouldn't sit idly by. But as soon as she opened the door, a group of people put on burlap bags and sent her to Fu's house. Xu Cheng took a deep breath, suppressed the complex emotions in his heart, hurriedly picked up his documents and money, flipped out the window, and leaned against the wall to eavesdrop on the inside. Why isn't that girl Xu Cheng here? She's just such a place to stay, she's not here now, she'll have to come back sooner or later, just wait. Xu Cheng sneered. Fortunately, she acted quickly, otherwise she would have been stuck inside. As long as she dodges for another 2 months, the Xu family will know what's wrong and she can get rid of forced marriage. In the previous life, she married on behalf of the Xu family, which made them fall in love with their biological daughter. In this life, Xu Cheng ran away early, and in order to preserve their property, the Xu family had to let their biological daughter marry. The bad temper of the Xu family's biological daughter is not easy to handle. These have nothing to do with Xu Cheng anymore. Her most important task at the moment is to help Xu avoid that accident. Thinking of this, a hint of sadness appeared on Xu Cheng's face. In her previous life, she was subjected to domestic violence by Fu Wei and had no way out. It was Xu who saved her and gave her hope for life. The He family is the most prestigious upper-class family in a city. Xu was originally the heir of the He family. At that time, Xu had both legs disabled and was taken over by the He family's second wife. He even fought his life against the Fu family to successfully divorce her. The two developed feelings and after getting married, they relied on each other in a small rental house. Xu Cheng self-taught traditional Chinese medicine for many years in order to cure Xu's legs. However, Xu's leg missed the best treatment time, even with superb medical skills, it was powerless. In this life, she wants to change the fate of both of them in advance. In his previous life, Xu had a car accident on an elevated bridge. He and several assistants were riding in a business car when the right side of the car was crushed, and Xu was trapped inside for more than 3 hours before missing out on the worsening leg injury. Xu Cheng disguised herself as a staff member in advance and rode in the same car as Xu. She wore a big mask and lowered her head to help the driver plan the route. Her dark brown pupils were tinged with amber by the light, and she carefully selected the route that could have missed the accident in her previous life. The driver avoided the elevated bridge and took another road. But ultimately, they did not escape the disaster. A heavy pickup truck rushed over and almost knocked over their car. At a critical moment, Xu Cheng suddenly hugged Xu's waist and pulled him hard to his side. Xu saw that his original position was flattened, and the driver's body was half covered in blood and flesh. There is also a warm spurt coming from the side of the body. Xu Cheng was injured in the carotid artery by a glass explosion on the other side and completely fainted. The man's expression was unpredictable. He pulled open the car door and carried Xu Cheng out. Who the hell is she? What is the purpose of helping him? Quickly, the personal assistant rushed over and his gaze paused for a moment on the woman Xu was holding. Sir, we have investigated thoroughly and tonight's car accident was aimed at you. It was on your uncle's side. Got it, have we investigated who she is? Xu asked in a low voice, realizing the assistant's gaze, and placed the unconscious woman on the roadside. Amidst the overlapping flames and neon lights, Xu Cheng, on the brink of death, lay alone in a pool of blood. The assistant couldn't bear it anymore and invited a few people to stop the bleeding for Xu Cheng. She is the only daughter of the Xu family in B City. The Xu family arranged for her to marry Fu Wei. Fu Wei had a violent tendency, so she escaped from marriage. Her social relationship is simple and there are no problems. I don't know why she came to you. She. What do you plan to do? Send her back to the Xu family. But. Fu Wei's place. The assistant hesitated a bit. Xu Cheng is beautiful enough to make everyone feel pity. But it will never affect Xu. That's her engagement, don't do anything extra. Before the woman's purpose is thoroughly investigated, Xu will not provide any help to her. If she is truly willing to act bravely, Xu will consider giving her some benefits. Xu. Xu Cheng was awakened by a nightmare and found himself in the hospital. Thinking of risking his life to save Xu, my heart felt slightly calm. What about Xu? He should be able to ask himself questions, right? Sister. You finally woke up. A gentle female voice interrupted Xu Cheng's thoughts. She looked up at the woman entering the ward and couldn't help but secretly clench her hands. She was unexpectedly sent back by Xu. Isn't she running away for nothing? Never mind, since she sacrificed her life to save Xu, she will repay the kindness of her previous life. As for the relationship between the two, it was already written off when she died. Just the butterfly effect, did the Xu family actually retrieve Xu in advance? The woman in front of me has a delicate and beautiful appearance, wearing a lake blue silk dress, looking obedient and harmless. Xu is the true daughter found by the Xu family, the source of her tragic life in her previous life. Xu was worried about Fu Wei's quirks, so she forced her to marry Fu Wei. The Fu family has great influence, and Xu is also greedy for Fu Wei's power. She only maintains a physical relationship with Fu Wei. Fu Wei will not hit Xu, but Xu will stir up trouble and make Fu Wei's family rape her. After divorcing Fu Wei, Xu did not let her go either. At that time, Xu Cheng and Xu were newlywed, and Xu Cheng worked as a waiter in a hotel to support his family. Xu deliberately brought Xu Cheng to the stairwell and apologized to her in tears. She kicked her down the stairs while Xu Cheng relaxed her guard. Xu Cheng had a miscarriage and lost the child she and Xu were most looking forward to. Xu Cheng, you have been occupying the magpie's nest for so many years, and you can't expect to have a better life. Xu Cheng cannot forget the judgment of women condescending. If I hadn't experienced the pain of my past life, how could I know that Xu Shuero had long hated me when I saw Xu Shuero's brilliant smile now? Are you? Xu Cheng pretended to be puzzled and gave Xu Shuero a chance to play. Sister, after you were hospitalized in a car accident, your mother saw that your blood type was not correct, so she did a parent-child test. In fact, you are not your mother's biological child. You were carried the wrong way when you were born. Oh, so you are the biological daughter of the Xu family. Xu Cheng saw the pride flashing in Xu Shuero's eyes, and his heart was clear. He casually asked, "Who are my biological parents?" Sister, don't look for your biological parents anymore. I heard my dad say that your biological parents are in a famous poverty-stricken county in China. Now, your parents still consider you as the daughter of the Xu family, and you are my sister. Isn't that good? Chapter 2. Signing and Severing Relationships. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Xu Shuero's appearance of being kind to her made Xu Chengcheng rational and nauseous. No need, you should be the person who is most eager for me to leave the Xu family, and there's no need to pretend to be with me. As soon as she didn't turn back, Xu's parents came in and loudly questioned, "Xu Cheng, what did you say? Why did Shuero cry? Did you bully her?" Xu Shuero not only cried. "Mom and Dad, don't blame your sister. It's all my fault. I'm worried that my sister will be bullied when she leaves home. I told her that you still treat her like a daughter, and she may not be able to accept it for a while. I'm not just pretending. Ignorant things, Shuero, go out with your mother and I'll tell her." Xu's mother held her daughter with concern and left the ward. Xu's father sat beside Xu Cheng with a serious expression on his face. Speaking up is a moral kidnapping. Xu Cheng, our Xu family has raised you for free for so many years. You have never done anything to please your father in these years. This is okay. Dad only hopes that you can consider your long-standing relationship and stop making trouble. Just marry Fu Wei. Make a fuss. Years of love. Xu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. I can agree, but I have one condition. Provide me with the contact information of my biological parents. Xu's father thought Xu Cheng had some big demands, and he immediately felt relieved. She wouldn't even point at her biological parents and turn over, would she? He has already contacted Xu Cheng, and his biological parents are far away in Weiping County, which is the most famous poverty-stricken county in the country. The residents are even struggling with food and clothing, and they have 7 other children at home. It is estimated that they cannot even afford the fare to pick up Xu Cheng in B City. What kind of waves can they bring? I immediately gave Xu Cheng my contact information, and after a few polite words, I couldn't help but feel happy and left the ward. Xu Cheng looked at the string of numbers in his hand. I have searched for the phone number for most of my life in my past life, but it was so easy to get it, and my expectations were suppressed with anxiety. Xu Cheng restrained himself from making a phone call. She has to do a lot of things and can't involve them yet. The Xu family was afraid that Xu Cheng would turn back, so they started preparing for the wedding when Xu Cheng was not hospitalized. On the day Xu Cheng was discharged from the hospital, he was directly taken to a manor by the driver. Xu's mother instructed the staff to put on Xu Cheng's makeup. Seeing Xu Cheng wearing that wedding dress, she immediately felt relieved. Xu's mother went out and brought a glass of water, eagerly delivering it to Xu Cheng. Chengcheng, Mom noticed that you haven't eaten anything in the morning. Drink some warm water to moisten your throat, and you'll be fine after completing the process. Are you really a fool? Is there a problem when she can't see the water? Xu Cheng didn't want to cause any trouble at the critical moment, so he obediently drank water. When they left the restroom, he was about to spit out all the water. She leaned on the sofa to take a nap. Sister, the wedding is about to begin. Mom asked me to call you. Sleeping so soundly, is that medicine so strong? Xu Shuoro walked up to Xu Cheng and stared at her with jealousy. Why is this fake daughter who occupies the magpie's nest more beautiful than her? Xu Cheng sensed that the other party was approaching, and in an instant, a hammer hit Xu Shuoro's neck. Xu Shuoro was unprepared and fell to the ground like a noodle. Xu Cheng pried open Xu Shuoro's mouth, poured the remaining half-cup of water into her, and quickly put on the red Shoha clothes for Xu Shuoro, covering her with a hat. Worried that Xu Shuoro might wake up halfway, she tore a piece of cloth and tied it to her mouth. The Fu family has always had a tradition of emphasizing Chinese-style weddings. As long as the bride covers her head, she cannot easily lift it off. Xu Cheng watched with his own eyes as they lifted Xu Shuoro out. In the middle, Xu Shuoro did indeed wake up and struggled to run. The Xu family thought it was Xu Cheng's last-minute regret and tightly held Xu Shuoro down to worship the high hall. Fu Wei was drunk and had long been intoxicated by guests, unable to distinguish between north and south. He carried Xu Shuoro into his new room with a coquettish expression when Xu Shuoro woke up from her wedding room with pain all over her body and a frightened expression on her face. Xu Cheng had already fled to Lincher. Xu Cheng prepared cash in advance and rented a house in the urban village without an ID card. She hid for 3 months, but the Xu family couldn't find her at all. Xu Cheng pays attention to the news of the Xu and Fu families every day. The heir of the Fu family threw their newlywed and pregnant wife into the hospital. Seeing this message, Xu Cheng knew that things had stabilized. Fu Jiagan didn't really care who the bride was. At first, it was exposed that she might be replaced, but now Xu Shuoro is pregnant. Whether due to public opinion pressure or expectations for offspring, the Fu family would only recognize Shuoro as a young lady. On that day, Xu Cheng bought a ticket to Be City and returned to the Xu family. As soon as she entered the house, Xu's mother rushed forward like she was crazy. "White-eyed wolf! How dare you come back? You have harmed my Shuoro, and I will kill you." Xu Cheng is no longer a weak and incompetent little white flower from the previous life. In her previous life, she learned Sanda and martial arts to protect herself. After hiding for 3 months, she completely integrated her young body and mastered all the skills of her previous life. She dodged with agility, causing Xu's mother to pounce in the air. "I just returned from my trip and haven't had a chance to wish my younger sister a happy wedding yet. By the way, I heard that my younger sister is pregnant. This is a gift I brought for her." Xu's mother instinctively opened the gift box handed by Xu Cheng and threw it out in fear. "What's your peace of mind? Where is the gift?" "It's a dried-up doll with a bloody mess and eerie runes. My younger sister's child will be aborted sooner or later. I have begged a golden boy for her to play with in advance. Even if this pregnancy is not aborted, my younger sister has already had many abortions before. If the Fu family finds out about this..." "You shut up." Xu Shuoro, who was still pretending to be weak, couldn't sit still and screamed as she threw the glass at Xu Cheng. "Xu Cheng, after years of gratitude, we have never harmed you. But you hate your sister like this. You will never be a child of the Xu family again. I can't help but beg for it." Xu Cheng took out the prepared divorce agreement and said, "Sign it. I happen to be going to find my biological parents, so it's best for you not to pester me again in the future." Xu's father signed his name with a resentful gaze. Entanglement. Their Xu family is the richest person in B City, will they still pester her? What kind of waves can she turn over from a waste of her biological parents in a poverty-stricken county? Xu Cheng took the signed agreement carefully and put it away. She is aware of the greedy personality of the Xu family. Even if there is a small profit, she will pounce and bite. In her previous life, she worked hard to learn many skills. After being reborn, Xu Cheng naturally did not intend to waste them. She cultivated precious flowers, designed murals, practiced medicine to save people. Everything was for a better life. just holding the agreement and preparing to turn around and leave. Xu Cheng'E coldly ordered the servant, Aunt Chen, throw out all of Xu Cheng's things. Our Xu family doesn't keep any dirty things. By the way, we'll settle how much Xu Cheng spent on us. If you can't repay it today, we'll issue an IOU. Chapter 3. The origin family is complex. You are listening at novel full.audio. Okay, I'll do as you say. Today, I'll pay back everything I owe you. Xu Cheng smiled calmly as he watched the servant flip through boxes and cabinets, throwing out all his old belongings. With Xu Cheng'E's deliberate guidance, he even threw them at the door of the villa. The neighbors all ran out to watch the excitement, pointing and pointing. At first, Xu Cheng was still discussing without gratitude, but when he saw those tattered clothes, he immediately fell silent. Xu Cheng'E's face became increasingly gloomy. What kind of thing is this? She thought that Xu Cheng had lived a wealthy life for so many years, wearing only branded clothes and using high-end cosmetics. How could everything she found be so simple? Even worse than what she uses. Do you see that? This is the kindness I owe you for raising me. Xu Cheng'E, the Xu family values sons over daughters, but they have always kept me as a servant. The clothes you threw away are still earned by me through work-study. That means they won't be able to give birth to a son in the future, so they have to be kind to me. Xu Cheng'E, you should be grateful that you didn't grow up in the Xu family. Xu Cheng stood in the distance with his chest in his arms, calmly taking out his phone to record. Finally, he pulled out a stack of banknotes from his wallet and threw them at the door of the villa like a charity. I'll compensate you for the money, I earned it myself. Take it away. Xu Cheng'E instinctively looked at her parents and instantly saw through the dodge in their eyes. She seems to understand something. No wonder parents accepted the fact of surrogacy so quickly. Xu Cheng remained calm and observed everything. She was about to leave when her phone rang. Hello, is that Miss Xu Cheng? I'm here to pick you up and take you home. I'm currently at the entrance of your foster parents' villa. Would it be convenient for the security guard to let me in? Uncle, you don't need to trouble. I'll go out right away. Just wait for me at the door. Xu Cheng responded politely. She has been in frequent contact with her biological parents for the past 3 months, although she has not yet met them, she already knows that they are all very kind people. Xu Cheng, who had never experienced much warmth in his family in 2 lifetimes, couldn't help but yearn for it. As long as you take it slow, you should be able to get along well. Xu Cheng'E's tone on one side was mixed with sarcasm. Xu Cheng, why don't you let your uncle in? Why, are you afraid that your poor relatives will not be seen? After speaking, she immediately contacted the security guard and asked him to let the person in. The person who came to pick up Xu Cheng walked very fast. The Xu family finally saw his appearance clearly. A middle-aged man in a suit was shaky, carrying a bunch of things, which were wrinkled and covered in mud spots. The Xu family harbors contempt in their hearts. Oh, Xu Cheng, your uncle and you are exactly the same. How dare you wear such a dirty suit? It's true that you came from a poor and remote place. The middle-aged man didn't get angry when he heard this, but quickly walked up to Xu Cheng and whispered, I'm sorry, miss. There was some accident on the way, and I accidentally fell. I'm sorry for you. No need to do this, as long as you're okay, I'll show you later. Xu Cheng doesn't care about appearance and these things. Whether the biological parents have money is not important, what is important is character. No matter how wealthy the Xu family is, the interior is also a mess of dirt. Sir, is this Chengcheng's adoptive father? Our husband originally intended to come over in person, but he was still too busy. Let me take the young lady back first, and he will come to see you in person another day. Thank you for taking care of the young lady for so many years. This is a small gift that is not respectful. Please accept it. The man walked up to Su's father and placed a pile of gift boxes in front of him, but was met with a cold snort from Su's father. "What kind of Mr. and Mississippi? What are you pretending to be? Your tattered items are not what our Xu family wants." Xu Shuero picked up the gift box and threw it far away, and even took out a disinfectant tissue to wipe her hands. Xu Cheng coldly scanned a few people and bent down to pick up those gift boxes. "Uncle, let's go. Since they don't want it, there's no need to give it to them. I just paid off the nurturing kindness of the Xu family." Upon hearing this, the middle-aged man's gaze stopped on the stack of banknotes. Is this the kindness of the Xu family? What kind of life have their young ladies been living for over a decade? We need to ask the teacher to provide them with good guidance for the Xu family. Feeling resentful in his heart, he still followed Xu Cheng and left the villa area. "Uncle, I checked the navigation. Let's take line 3 of the subway first and then transfer. Mississippi, don't bother so much, I came by car." There are too many luxury cars near the villa area, and Xu Cheng glanced but didn't see any ordinary cars. "I saw a middle-aged man leading the way and directly leading her to the side of the most domineering one. Then the car door opened like this. The man even took the gift boxes stained with mud and water, stuffing them into the trunk. Ah! This seems a bit wrong." Xu Cheng got into the car in confusion and mechanically navigated. The destination for this trip is Weiping County, estimated distance. Upon hearing the navigation announcement, the middle-aged man spoke up and reminded, "Miss, let's go to City A, not to Weiping County. Weiping County is my ancestral home." Xu Cheng obediently turned off the navigation and finally reacted. Her biological parents seem to be different from what is rumored. At the same time, Xu Shuero, who was instructing the servants to tidy up the old things at the entrance of the villa, discovered something unusual. It's half a piece of broken jade. This condition is also too good. It seems to have fallen out of Xu Cheng's pile of gifts. Is her parents really not simple? Xu Shuero was about to tell the Xu family, but seeing those old things made her heart ache and she secretly hid the broken jade. At this moment, the servant hurriedly handed over a mobile phone. "Miss, someone is calling you." Xu Shuero instinctively answered the phone. "Hello, may I ask if this is Miss Xu? I am Mr. Hua's secretary, and Mr. Hua is very grateful for your help. I have recently learned that you are in some difficulties, and I hope to be able to help you." Upon hearing the gentle voice of the woman across from her, Xu Shuero clenched her phone tightly. "Mr. Hua. Is it the Hua family in a city?" For a moment, Xu Shuero was overjoyed. She's saved. Xu Cheng slept in the car for over 3 hours and finally arrived at his destination. Even though Xu Cheng had been mentally prepared, he was still shocked by the private estate in front of him. The area of the estate cannot be estimated with the naked eye. The main body of the estate is not a complex and vulgar nouveau riche style building, but a complex of buildings that integrate multiple artistic concepts such as Gothic architectural style and ancient Greek architectural spirit. Classical, elegant, retro. Even with a hint of sacredness. This kind of heritage is by no means comparable to the Xu family. She followed the middle-aged man into the estate, where a group of servants lined up to greet her. At the door, she finally saw her biological parents. The extremely familiar face even left Xu Cheng stunned. Lin Feigong, Jiang Bai. Can be considered the wealthiest couple in China. But what shocked Xu Cheng the most was not this. But in her past life, her biological parents even jumped off a building and committed suicide. This matter has caused a huge uproar. Even Xu Cheng, who had previously had limited information, knows something about it. Their death was particularly bizarre, with no signs, only leaving all their property to their youngest daughter. Xu Cheng couldn't help but be taken aback when he recalled the news he had seen in his previous life. Her biological parents were crying over the phone, only giving birth to her daughter. Who was the youngest daughter who received inheritance in her previous life? Xu Cheng squinted his eyes. It seems that the situation of her biological family is also very complicated. Chapter 4. Showcasing Medical Skills. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Xu Cheng didn't have time to think too much, so he was tightly embraced by his biological parents. The woman's voice choked with grief and she said, "Chengcheng, Mom finally found you. You've been wronged for so many years." Xu Cheng was also infected by his biological mother's crying, tears filling his eyes. She broke free from her parents' embrace and focused on observing the two of them. Although my mother is in middle age, she takes good care of herself, with only a few fine lines at the end of her eyes, which looks very charming. And her father, with a deep groove in his eyebrows, should be a very serious and rigid person, just the warmth and emotion revealed in his eyes, not like being fake. Chengcheng, your mother and I originally wanted to pick you up in person, but your grandmother suddenly fell ill today and could only ask the butler to pick you up. Don't have any grudges, we will slowly make up for what we owe you before. Lin Fei Gong spoke with a somewhat awkward tone, but when he saw Xu Cheng's expression gently shaking his head, he slowly calmed down. It's okay, I understand. It would be great if we could meet. By the way, parents, are there any other siblings at home? Xu Cheng tentatively asked. You also have 6 older brothers and 1 younger sister. Your brothers are not at home and we will see each other in a few days. Your sister is treating your grandmother and will take you to see them now. Jiang Bai took the initiative to hold Xu Cheng's hand, even though his heart was turbulent, he still calmly stroked Xu Cheng's hair. Her child has really suffered. The 3 of them walked indoors surrounded by servants, and the interior of the main building was also very spacious and luxurious. Xu Cheng followed everyone in the internal elevator to the top floor, which was very similar to the layout of a hospital. The neatly dressed doctors walked in the corridor, looking like a small treatment department. Xu Cheng calmly observed the decorations around him, gaining a new understanding of his biological parents. So the richest person looks like this. I don't know how her grandmother's condition is either. Xu Cheng's medical skills are superb, and she also hopes for the health of her family. The 3 of them arrived at a spacious ward, and Xu Cheng finally met his grandmother. The old man's wrinkles filled his skin, his body was thin and lifeless, lying on the hospital bed, as if a skeleton was stacked in a pile of cotton, shocking. On one side of the ward, there stood a woman dressed as a doctor, with curly hair and a delicate appearance. However, her face was pale, her figure was relatively thin, and she felt somewhat sickly and beautiful. This is your sister, just call her Lin Ru. Your sister works at the National Medical College and is also responsible for your grandmother's treatment. Jiang Bai's introduction was full of pride. Xu Cheng nodded quietly and reached out his hand to the woman. Hello, little Ru, I'm Xu Cheng. Lin Ru shook her hand coldly. Okay sister. Then I took an alcohol wipes and wiped my hands. Lin Feigong frowned upon seeing this scene and explained to Xu Cheng, your sister has a cleanliness fetish, and doctors always have occupational diseases. She's just fine with it. Don't take it to heart. Xu Cheng saw the water cup placed by the woman on the table, with a circle of solidified white milk stains on the table next to it, which didn't look like he had a cleanliness obsession. But she still nodded. Her sister should be difficult to get along with. Just as Xu Cheng was about to say hello to his grandmother, the old man suddenly coughed violently, and a large ball of blood mixed with meat chunks gushed out of his mouth. Xu Cheng was surprised at the sight and immediately took out a silver needle bag. Subconsciously, he wanted to give the old man a needle, but was pushed away by Lin Ru's slap. Sister, Grandma has fallen ill again. Please don't go there, it will affect my treatment. I know traditional Chinese medicine, and I can treat my grandmother. Your treatment method is wrong. Xu Cheng discovered that the cabinet was filled with antiplatelet drugs, scattered with asthma treatment drugs, which may also be the reason for coughing up blood clots. Because Xu Cheng has observed that his grandmother is likely to have heart failure and lung abscess. The old man was in danger, and Xu Cheng couldn't explain so much for a moment. Lin Ru could only be subdued with great force and calmly felt the pulse of the old man. Lin Ru shouted loudly, but Xu Cheng turned a blind eye and calmly avoided Lin Ru's scratching. Having confirmed his grandmother's illness, Xu Cheng twisted a silver needle with one hand and decided to give the old man an injection. Unexpectedly, Lin Fei tightly squeezed his wrist. Chengcheng, I know you're worried about grandma, but you can't act around either. Where have you learned medical skills? Your sister is a medical doctor, and the treatment plan won't go wrong. Xu Cheng looked somewhat surprised at his biological parents behind him. Both of them had a look of blame on their faces. Her mood was slightly chaotic, and she hurriedly inserted a silver needle into the old man's acupoint, using special techniques to temporarily stabilize the other person's condition. My grandmother's cough gradually subsided, and she could even open her eyes. The old man looked at the girl in front of him as if he had seen his young daughter. The relationship between her and her daughter could never return to the past. Thinking of this made the old man's anger even stronger. Even though she was seriously ill, her thoughts were not chaotic. She could sense that after taking the medication given by Lin Ru, her body gradually weakened. At one point, she thought it was a side effect of the medication. Today, hearing her granddaughter's words, her heart suddenly shook. Even though my eyes were blurry, I trembled and turned my fingers towards the familiar figure, barely speaking, "You treat me." This statement goes clearly into everyone's ears. Nonsense. What nonsense? Even though Lin Feigong felt helpless, he still let go of Xu Cheng. Lin Ru stood on one side, staring at Xu Cheng with a mocking expression on her face. But the slut who grew up in the family of the nouveau riche has never heard of Xu Cheng learning medical skills. She is a medical genius, and if she can't be cured, she still has to come and beg her. But in the next moment, a strong sense of crisis rose in Lin Ru's heart. I saw the girl's face solemn, and her needle application was extremely stable. I don't know what special technique was used, but the vertical silver needle pierced into her flesh and couldn't help but tremble. If it were Xu Cheng who had not been reborn, of course he would not know how to treat it. However, after experiencing it in his previous life, Xu Cheng has rich experience and can easily treat heart failure and lung abscess. In just half an hour, the old man's condition stabilized and he has fallen into a deep sleep. Xu Cheng walked from the hospital bed to Lin Ru. With a faint expression, he said, "Grandma's illness is heart disease and lung abscess. You treated her as asthma and gave her antiplatelet medication, which is why she vomited blood continuously." Lin Ru was both shocked and angry, unable to maintain her usual image as a cold and sickly beauty, and almost about to curse out loud. Lin Ru finally held back. She covered her heart and her extremely painful appearance made her heart tremble. "Sister, I know you may not be able to accept me, but you cannot slander my medical skills. Practicing medicine to save people cannot be as hasty as you are. Thank you for saving Grandma, but this is just a coincidence. The asthma medication you saw was prescribed for my friend, not for Grandma. How could you do this?" After speaking, Lin Ru leaned against the corner of the table, almost fainting, and was supported by Jiang Bai. "Chengcheng, your sister's heart is not good. Don't stimulate her. She makes sense. Even if you have good medical skills, you can't go up and treat people like this." Chapter 5. Thief Brothers and Sisters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin looked at the medicine on the cabinet with a hint of disrespect. "Alright, don't mention it. Mom's improvement this time is also thanks to Chengcheng." Xu Cheng clenched his hand, restrained the surging anger, and calmly put away the silver needles one by one. Her younger sister not only wiped out her credit in just a few words, but also smeared her eagerness for quick success. "It's really a good trick. I know my mother now, and I will pay attention next time." This time, I was lucky enough to see my grandmother's illness in a medical book, so I went to get the needle in a hurry. Xu Cheng deliberately said. Upon hearing these words, Lin Ru had a thought in her heart. What medical book is so powerful? She must get it. After all, giving such a good medical book to that idiot Xu Cheng is also a waste. A few people didn't stay in the ward and had a meal together, so they asked Xu Cheng to return to his room to rest. After talking and inquiring with the servant, Xu Cheng finally found out that after her parents lost her, her mother was extremely heartbroken and they adopted a pair of siblings, namely Lin Ru and Lin Ming. At present, Xu Cheng has not seen Lin Ming, but judging from Lin Ru's attitude, her biological brother may not be easy to get along with. Xu Cheng felt nauseous at the thought of Lin Ru's charitable attitude at the dinner table. If it weren't for investigating the cause of death of her parents in her previous life, she would never have had any entanglement with Lin Ru. She suspected that in her previous life, both parents committed suicide and had no connection with Lin Ru. Xu Cheng was in the room, writing down some acupuncture techniques and traditional Chinese medicine theories, half true and half false, to create a booklet. Then, without any disguise, he took it to the small hall for reading. Lin Ru indeed stared at her, pretending to pour water to get something, and came back and forth to the small hall 3 or 4 times. Xu Cheng secretly observed her and sat in the small hall for an hour before stretching and leaving. Before leaving, she instructed the servant to put her information in the study, and she will continue reading it tomorrow. At night, Xu Cheng quietly arrived at the door of the study and indeed saw Lin Ru hurriedly running outside with the copied fake materials. Xu Cheng followed her to the first floor, found a room, sat by the window, gently opened the window, and listened to Lin Ru and others talking on the phone. Brother, don't worry, I'm fine. I've already received that despicable person's medical book. I'll give it to Dean Chen tomorrow, and he'll take care of me again. It's just that this despicable person is a bit difficult to deal with. It seems like my parents have some feelings for her. But it's related by blood. What if she commits a crime? Isn't she skilled in medicine? If Huoweiguo comes to you for treatment tomorrow, you can let her come. Tomorrow, you can add some strong medicine to Huoweiguo. I don't believe she can cure it. Su Qingjing listened attentively to the conversation between the two and speculated that the other person might be Lin Ming, whom he had never met before. She felt a cold air rising behind her. If she hadn't come with her today and heard them discussing how to calculate herself, she might have hit the nail on the head. The next afternoon, Xu Cheng was chatting with his mother in the small hall, and Lin Ru came looking for her with an unpleasant expression on her face. Sister, I know you have excellent medical skills. I have a patient with a sudden illness here who I cannot treat. Can you come and help me take a look? In order to tempt Xu Cheng, even arrogant people like Lin Ru are willing to lower themselves. Xiaoru, why don't you call your teacher? Chengcheng just happened to be able to receive treatment yesterday. Jiang Bai looked at his 2 daughters with concern. Yesterday, Lin Feigong told her that the elderly person did indeed take asthma medication, but Lin Ru was arrogant, had a serious heart disease, and had a tendency towards depression. She could not dismantle Lin Ru's platform. She knows that Xu Cheng does have some medical skills, but if it could cause Lin Ru's sense of crisis, Jiang Bai hopes that her own daughter will not compete with her adopted daughter. The adopted daughter has a career ambition, and it is not bad for her own daughter to be an old rice worm. Mom, my medical skills are pretty good. It takes a lot of human effort for her to call the teacher. I'll go up with my sister now. Don't worry. Without waiting for his mother to refute, Xu Cheng followed Lin Ru up to the treatment level. Arriving at the treatment room, Xu Cheng saw an old man sitting in a wheelchair, and beside him stood an extremely familiar person. How could Huasu be here? And Huasu was also looking at Xu Cheng. This woman's eyes are very familiar. Mr. Hua, this is my sister. She has excellent medical skills, so let her treat you today. But Huasu is not so easy to deal with. Miss Lin, not everyone can treat my grandfather. Could you please introduce her resume to me? As soon as these words were spoken, Lin Ru felt a deep sense of satisfaction in her heart. What is your educational background, sister? According to your parents, you dropped out of high school before finishing it, but you have such good medical skills, so you must have a lot of treatment experience, right? I don't have any treatment experience. Yesterday when I gave my grandmother an injection, it was my first time practicing it on a patient, Xu Chengcheng said earnestly. She wasn't worried about Lin Ru's probing at all. Anyway, today Lin Ru had to calculate on herself, and no matter how humiliated she was, she would still let her get involved. Lin Ru may not have imagined that if she, as a high school dropout, were to cure her stubborn illness that she didn't understand, how would she handle it on her own? Miss Lin, my grandfather is not a tool for your sister to try, Xu frowned and said coldly. But before Lin Ru could speak, Mr. Hu waved his hand and said, "It's okay, treat it for me. No one can cure this disease around me, so there's nothing wrong with trying my hand." Mr. Hu already felt that Xu Cheng had an indescribable affinity for him. Xu Cheng sat beside the old man calmly and carefully examined his pulse. Lift the old man's eyelids again to examine. Her movements this time were much more cautious, and outsiders seemed as if Xu Cheng was at a loss. Lin Ru stood beside her with her chest hugged, secretly sneering to herself. No matter what disease Xu Cheng judges, it will always be wrong. She let go and let Xu Cheng treat her. When Xu Cheng treated her wrong, angered the Hu family, and was betrayed by her parents, she took action to save someone. Anyway, at the beginning, she poisoned Mr. Hu just to save him and gain his reputation. But Xu Cheng's next words completely slapped Lin Ru in the face. "Sir, you're not sick, you're poisoned. You've taken a mixed-type chronic poison, and today you've taken a new toxin from the stimulant, which has caused extreme discomfort in your body. And I think the new toxin you're taking should be the water in your hand." Lin Ru could no longer remain calm, even Su's face became dark. He didn't wait for Lin Ru to react, so he took the water from the old man's hand and handed it over to the bodyguard for testing. "Sister. How could the water in our treatment room be toxic? Even if you don't like me, you can't slander me. Is there any poison? Just test it and you'll know," Xu Cheng said, lowering his head to collect blood for Mr. Hu and handing it over to Su's bodyguard again. "Let's take it together and have it tested." Mr. Hu had extreme trust in the Lin family and had never consulted any other physician. He thought that he might have been poisoned by Lin Ru, and his face was gloomy and gloomy. Lin Ru had no choice but to face the pressure from the crowd. Because she brought Xu Cheng in herself. Just as Lin Ru was in a hurry, she saw through the glass that her brother had collided with the bodyguard and hastily replaced the test tube. What is the grandfather of the fiancé in Chapter 6? You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The commotion downstairs made the bodyguard dare not conceal it and immediately called Su to inform him. Su clenched his finger bones on his phone with force, his eyes gleaming. After a moment, he hung up the phone and looked at Lin Ru. "Hello very much." Lin Ru's heart suddenly thumped, realizing that Su knew what was happening downstairs. Yes, Lin Ming helped her switch the test tube, so she can temporarily get rid of suspicion. But what happened at this critical moment was too coincidental, and Su must have doubted her. Lin Ru knew about Su's strength and didn't dare to be careless. He immediately put on a hint of grievance and said, "Su, how could I possibly poison Mr. Hu? After all, I'm engaged to you, and I'm also half of the Hu family." At this point, Lin Ru blushed and turned her head to look at Mr. Hu, looking aggrieved and sad. "Mr. Hu, I know that Su has never been willing to admit to this engagement, and he also does not admit to me as his fiancée. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had to call you Mr. Hu until now. Mr. Hu, do you know what people outside say about me?" Lin Ru couldn't help but start sobbing, tears misty, reflecting her pale little face, which I still pity when I see it. Xu Cheng couldn't help but give Lin Ru a thumbs up as he watched from the side. Her good sister's acting skills are really good, even Oscar winners have to give her a share. They scolded me for being shameless, and even though I had such a good background, they insisted on holding on to this marriage. But when it comes to marriage, how can we play around with it? Can we still change things that have been agreed upon? I am stubborn and will not change anything that is confirmed. Even if Xu doesn't regard me as his fiancé, I have recognized him. Xu is my fiancé, and you are my grandfather. How could I possibly poison my own grandfather? Xu Cheng sneered on the side, what is my fiancé's grandfather? My dear grandmother has already been drugged. Mr. Hua's expression became slightly relaxed. That's right, Lin Ru has no reason to prescribe medicine to him. This matter doesn't make sense. Xiaoxiu, what happened? Mr. Hua asked. Xu approached with a cold expression and whispered a few words. Mr. Hua's face suddenly changed, is the test tube still there? Still there. Xu stood up straight. Xu Cheng realized something was wrong and instinctively asked, what's going on? Sister, can you stop talking too much? Lin Ru was a bit angry. This is between me, Mr. Hua, and Xu, and it has nothing to do with you. Sister, can you go out first? Xu Cheng curled his lips and was about to speak when he heard Xu speak. Just now someone collided with the bodyguard downstairs, and the water in the cup was spilled. That's really a coincidence. Xu Cheng smiled rather than smiled. Xu's eyes flickered slightly, and after a moment, they returned to normal. Sister, what do you mean by saying this? Lin Ru questioned. Are you suspecting that what happened downstairs was something I had someone do? Xu Cheng smiled faintly and said, why is your sister so anxious and angry? From beginning to end, no one said it was you who did it. Why are you jumping around so hastily? Is it just a feeling of guilt? You're talking nonsense. Lin Ru's face turned red with anger. I'm not. Oh, Xu Cheng's expression was even lighter. If it's not, then it's not, and no one says you are. Lin Ru was so angry that she trembled all over, her face turned blue, and she couldn't even speak. Mr. Hua, I have another way to detect whether you have been poisoned, Xu Cheng suddenly spoke. Lin Ru's heart was suddenly startled, with a pair of beautiful big red eyes filled with nervousness and unease. Sister, don't act recklessly. Xu Chengli ignored her and turned his head to look at Mr. Hua, saying, Mr. Hua, I am a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, so I can use traditional Chinese medicine methods to detect whether you have been poisoned. What method? Mr. Hua asked. Xu frowned and said, Grandpa. Give it a try, Mr. Hua smiled and said to Xu Cheng. I don't know why, he just fell in love with the girl in front of him. Thank you, Mr. Hua, for giving me this opportunity. Xu Cheng smiled sweetly. Mr. Hua also laughed heartily and said, it's also giving me a chance. I've been sick for so long, and I have to figure out what exactly I'm sick of. Okay. Xu Cheng walked to the operating table not far away and found a silver needle and disinfectant cotton. She walked back with something and said, Mr. Hua, it may hurt a bit. I'm not afraid, even an old man is afraid of pain. It's laughable to hear about it. Xu Cheng took Mr. Hua's hand and took out disinfectant cotton to disinfect his middle finger. Sister, what do you want to do? Don't act recklessly. Lin Ru ran over nervously and grabbed Xu Cheng's arm to stop her movements. Xu Cheng looked puzzled and said, Sister, what are you doing? Didn't you ask me to come over and help treat Mr. Hua? Yes, Miss Lin, why have you repeatedly blocked me? Mr. Hua couldn't help but sink his face. He felt that Lin Ru had no motive to poison him, but Lin Ru repeatedly blocked Xu Cheng from investigating the truth, which was indeed suspicious. Lin Ru's eyes turned red at the time and she said, Mr. Hua, I'm just worried about you. You know, I'm a doctor of medicine, and I've always trusted the means of science. Like my sister, I'm not an ordinary person. What doesn't enter the stream? Xu Cheng raised his volume. Is my sister trying to say that I don't enter the stream, or is she trying to say that traditional Chinese medicine doesn't enter the stream? Traditional Chinese medicine is vast and profound. Is it something you can insult? Even if you are my sister, I cannot agree with your idea. The little woman's eyes were shining brightly, making her whole body seem to have been bathed in a layer of light, and several people present were stunned. Okay. Mr. Hua regained his composure first. Actually, I have always believed in traditional Chinese medicine, but I haven't been able to meet a suitable TCM practitioner. If you really have the ability, young lady, then I can entrust my physical problems to you in the future. Xu Cheng's eyes lit up instantly. This can be considered an unexpected joy. Although she no longer intends to have any relationship with the Hua family or Hua Su, she wants to investigate the cause of her biological parents' death. Based solely on her current strength, it is estimated that she will be slightly behind. But if she could get the help of the Hua family, things would be much simpler. She doesn't realize that there is any problem with relying on external forces to improve her strength. If there is assistance, she doesn't need it. That's a big fool. Chapter 7. Staring at Lin Ru. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. It's a deal. Xu Cheng didn't hesitate to talk nonsense to Lin Ru anymore, shook off her hand, disinfected Mr. Hua's middle finger again, and stabbed it with a silver needle. Blood beads surged out in an instant. Xu Cheng pinched Mr. Hua's finger, squeezed out more blood, and then inserted the silver needle into the blood droplet. This is. Mr. Hua hesitated for a moment. Silver needle test. Mr. Hua, it's also seen on TV, Xu Cheng explained with a smile. Mr. Hua smiled and said, I thought it was all fabricated. It's not a fabrication, Mr. Hua, look. Xu Cheng lowered his face and gestured for Mr. Hua to look at his own hand. Seventh with Xu Cheng's shout, everyone immediately lowered their heads and looked at Mr. Hua's fingers. At this glance, everyone present changed their faces. But the silver needle inserted on the blood bead had quietly changed color. I dare not say it's pitch black, but it's also pitch black. Mr. Hua's face turned green in an instant. Hua Su also lowered his face. Xu Cheng didn't waste any time either. He quickly wiped the blood off Mr. Hua's fingers with an alcohol cotton swab to make sure there was no more bleeding, and then threw the used medical waste into the medical trash can. Just as Hua Su's phone rang. Hua Su took out his phone and answered the call. Okay. Hua Su hung up the phone with a cold expression on his face. Miss Lin. Hua Su drank in a deep voice, should you give it to me, my grandfather, and the Hua family. Lin Ru was so scared that she trembled all over and almost fell. What explanation? She remained stubbornly stubborn. Hua Su sneered and said, today's incident has broadened my horizons. My grandfather just took out the blood for testing and it was fine, but just after getting a silver needle, it was found to be poisoned. Miss Lin, the results of these two testing methods are completely different. Don't you need to give me an explanation? I don't know, Lin Ruqiang persisted, not letting herself faint. Hua Su, I am your fiancé Ae. Miss Lin, don't keep reminding you that you are my fiancé Ae. Whether you are my fiancé Ae or whether you have poisoned my grandfather is two different things. Hua Su laughed coldly. Brother, father and son can both kill each other, not to mention, you are just my fiancé Ae. Miss Lin, I hope you can give us a satisfactory answer. Lin Ru cried and shook her head, I don't know. I really don't know anything, why is this happening? She clenched her heart and looked as if it was difficult to catch her breath. I don't even know what silver needle test is, I've never heard of it before. Mr. Xu, please believe me, it's really not me who did it. Lin Ru shouted loudly, his face pale with a hint of blue, which was extremely ugly. Miss Lin seems to have a mental illness too, Grandpa Hu frowned. Xiao Su, go and call a doctor first. Su frowned and wanted to go outside. Don't worry, I'll show it to my sister, Xu Cheng ran over nervously. Lin Ru clenched her heart and arched her waist, looking extremely painful. Her long hair covered her, and the anger on her face had almost become substantial. Xu Cheng. This damn woman, how dare she? Don't be afraid, sister. Let me show you. Xu Cheng quickly walked over and grabbed Lin Ru's arm, trying to pulse her. Lin Ru is facing a great enemy. She was just pretending, how dare she let Xu Cheng have a pulse? No, no. Yes, yes. Xu Cheng had a lot of strength, and it was not something that Lin Ru, that weak chicken, could handle. With a few strokes, he held Lin Ru in his arms and connected her pulse. Almost for a moment, Xu Cheng quietly frowned. Xiaoru. At this moment, Jiang Bo, who heard the commotion upstairs, ran up from downstairs and saw Xu Cheng wrapped around Lin Ru. He was startled and quickly ran over to pull Xu Cheng away, pulling Lin Ru to his side. Xiao Cheng, what are you doing? Mom, I'm so sad. Lin Ru seemed to suddenly find her backbone, and her whole body fell into Jiang Bai's arms. Jiang Bai was startled by Lin Ru's pale complexion and said, Xiao Ru, what's wrong with you? Didn't you treat Mr. Hua? Why did this suddenly happen? Xiao Cheng, what did you do to Xiaoru? Xu Cheng frowned slightly, feeling that Jiang Bai's reaction was inappropriate. She is Jiang Bai's biological daughter, and judging from Jiang Bai's current reaction, it seems that Lin Rucai is Jiang Bai's daughter. Mom, you misunderstood. Xu Cheng didn't want to argue with Jiang Baichi either. My younger sister was feeling unwell just now, and I want to take a look for her. What do you know, a high school graduate? Jiang Bai blurted out. But as soon as she spoke, she seemed to notice that her words were a bit excessive, and her expression changed slightly. Xiao Cheng, I'm sorry, I just care too much about Xiaoru, I didn't mean to say that. Jiang Bai frowned slightly and said, Mr. Hua, Xiaoru has a sudden heart attack. I'll take her back to her room to take her medicine first. Mr. Hua's face was tense, but his poisoning incident has not been dealt with yet. Mom. Lin Ru suddenly exclaimed in a hurry, I hurt so much. Jiang Bai became anxious and said, Mr. Hua, I don't know what happened, but no matter how big the matter is, the child's health is not as important. What's going on? Lin Feigong suddenly walked in. He came back to get an urgently needed document, and as soon as he went upstairs, he heard a commotion before coming in to take a look. You came back just in time, please greet Mr. Hua. Xiaoru's heart disease suddenly broke out, I'll take her back to her room to take medicine first. Jiang Bai put down his words, didn't even look at Lin's disapproval, and hugged Lin Ru before turning around and leaving. Lin Fei's expression suddenly sank, but he didn't say anything to stop it. Xu Cheng didn't speak either. She knew that it was impossible for Lin Feigong and Jiang Bai to come forward and target Lin Ru with a single move. Moreover, Jiang Bai's attitude towards Lin Ru was somewhat strange. Before he could figure it out, Xu Cheng didn't want to act impulsively. Mr. Hua, Lin walked over with a sneer, what's going on here? What's going on? Mr. Hua sneered, we are at least related by marriage to your Lin family, but you have poisoned me. Lin Feigong, what do you Lin family really want to do? Lin Feigong was taken aback and said, Mr. Hua, where did you start with this? Xiaoxiu, you and the little girl should go out first. If I have something to talk to Mr. Lin, said Mr. Hua. Hua Su hesitated for a moment before finally grabbing Xu Cheng, who still wanted to watch a good movie, and pulling him out with just a few clicks. At the moment the door was closed, Xu Cheng looked at the big black face of the man in front of him, feeling angry in his heart. Xu from his past life was such a good man. Although he was not gentle, he was also knowledgeable and witty. It's not like now, even if it's cold, those eyes are like knives, they can cut at you at any time. He was completely guarded, as if everyone was his enemy. Is it difficult for this man to have delusions of being victimized? When Xu Cheng was lost in thought, his neck was suddenly grabbed by a big palm. Without waiting for Xu Cheng to come to her senses, she was pushed against the nearby wall. Xu Cheng. Did she provoke a white-eyed wolf? Yayaba. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have saved him. Chapter 8. People seduce their brother.In. Law. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Xu Cheng is not easy to deal with either. In her past life, she taught herself Sanda and martial arts to protect herself and Xu. Her skills are not bad now. Xu Cheng's lips curved into a cold smile and he directly countered. I underestimated you. Xu sneered and restrained Xu Cheng again with a few strokes. Xu Cheng was impatient and struggled again to fight back. Is this damn leg so powerful when it wasn't lame? No wonder his good second uncle tried to attack him several times. With this bastard around, can the Hu family still have the share of Uncle Xu? Be honest. Xu suddenly drew closer to each other and whispered softly against her face. The scorching breath sprayed over, and Xu Cheng seemed to have suddenly drunk a glass of wine, slightly tipsy. She looked up slightly at the man in front of her, and in her gaze, the man's face seemed to gradually merge with the one in her memory. The emotions hidden deep in my heart suddenly erupted. She instinctively touched his face and murmured, Ah Xu, do you know how much I miss you? Pop. As soon as Xu Cheng's voice fell, his hand was heavily knocked off by Xu. Shameless. Xu cursed. Xu Cheng was stunned for a moment, and his eyes, which were still full of friendship just now, instantly became clear. Even if I don't acknowledge this engagement, at least until the engagement is terminated, I will still be your brother.In. Law. Xu looked at Xu Cheng's eyes filled with disgust and disgust. Is this the Lin family's tutor to seduce their brother.In. Law in public? The momentary emotion in Xu Cheng's heart dissipated without a trace with Xu's words. Mr. Hu is really kind to put gold on his face. Xu Cheng pursed his lips and said, It's just a joke. It's worth your temper. Besides, if I don't do this, can you let me go? Shut up. Xu suddenly grabbed Xu Cheng's neck again. Don't talk nonsense to me. I just want to ask you one thing. Did you tamper with Grandpa's drug test just now? Do you suspect me of tampering and bullying your little fiancé A.E.? Xu Cheng's face turned red with anger. She took advantage of Xu's unpreparedness and directly kicked his calf bone. When Xu was feeling pain, he pushed him hard and ran 2 steps towards the side. After determining the safe distance, Xu Cheng turned around and glared fiercely at the man in front of him. He had once been extremely close to her, and his heart was filled with her man. I got it. Xu forced himself to endure the pain and stood up straight, his eyes cold. The cold face of the man in front of me completely blends with the gentle and condensed face in my memory. Xu Cheng couldn't conceal the hint of bitterness in his heart. After all, it's the man she loved so deeply in her past life. But she should also be sober now. This man is not the one she loved in her past life. He's not. If not, then there's no need to waste any more expression on him. That's your grandfather. Xu Cheng sneered, do you believe it or not? Turning around, she angrily walked away. Watching her leave behind, Shuhan's eyes narrowed slightly. This woman is suspicious. While contemplating, the door was opened and Mr. Hu was pushed out by Lin Fei. Xiaoxiu, let's go home first, Mr. Hu said. Xu frowned. Let's go home first, Mr. Hu said again. Xu nodded and stepped forward, personally pushing Mr. Hua to take the elevator downstairs. "Mr. Hua, I'll see you off," Lin Feigong immediately caught up and said. After a moment, Hua Su and Grandpa Hua got into the car back to the old house of the Hua family. "Grandpa, both Lin Ru and her sister are suspicious of this incident," Hua Su said in a low voice. Lin Ru had no motive for poisoning, and her sister had just returned to the Lin family, Mr. Hua explained. Hua Su was slightly stunned and said, "Just returned to the Lin family." "That's right." Mr. Hua sighed helplessly. "Speaking of which, this girl is also a pitiful one. She was taken away by someone since childhood, and her family has never been able to find her. If it weren't for the recent development of the internet, it would be difficult to find her." Hua Su sneered. Even in the matter of poisoning, that woman was not suspicious, but she was not a good person. What kind of fun can it be to covet one's brother.In.Law? "So Lin Ru?" Hua Su asked again. Mr. Hua thought for a moment before saying, "Lin Ru has no motive for poisoning, but it's not entirely suspicious. So, please arrange for me to go to your Uncle Chen's hospital for a full-body examination. He used to trust Lin Ru too much, so he never went to another hospital for a check-up." Unexpectedly, a loophole appeared here. "Grandpa, even though Lin Ru didn't poison you, as your attending physician, could she not know about your poisoning?" "There is indeed a problem here." Mr. Hua's expression remained calm. "I just talked to Lin Feigong, and he guarantees with his own personality that this matter is not Lin Ru's fault. Moreover, he promised me that he will definitely give me an explanation no matter what. You can also secretly investigate." Hua Su nodded slightly and said, "Yes, Grandpa." At the same time, just a few minutes after Xu Cheng returned to his room, he heard a knock on the door from the Lin family's side. "Please come in." Xu Cheng nestled on the sofa, holding a tablet and playing with it casually. Lin Feigong walked in and saw her in a bad mood. A hint of helplessness and guilt flashed between her eyebrows. "Xiao Cheng." Xu Cheng turned around and saw that it was Lin Feigong, so he put the tablet aside. "Dad. I'm here to talk to you about your mother," Lin Fei said directly. Xu Cheng was taken aback and said, "What's wrong with Mom?" Her worried expression, without any hesitation or deception, fell into Lin's disrespectful eyes, which made him breathe a little sigh of relief. He walked over and sat down next to Xu Cheng, apologizing first. "Xiao Cheng, I already know about what happened in the diagnosis and treatment room just now. Let me apologize to you first." Xu Cheng was quite surprised and said, "Dad, you." "Xiao Cheng, it's our fault that we haven't been able to find you for so many years. We feel guilty about you, and now that we finally find you, we will definitely compensate you thousands of times. I think so, and your mother will think the same way. But your mother's situation is slightly different." Xu Cheng was even more surprised. "Dad, what you mean is, my mom." "Your mother has some mental health issues," Lin Feigong said. "Back then, after you went missing, your mother suffered a great blow. In addition, my relationship with her was somewhat special, which led to some mental health issues with her. Later, on the doctor's advice, we adopted Xiaoru and his brother Xiaoming. Due to Xiaoru's relationship, your mother's mental state gradually improved. It can be said that Xiaoru is your mother's spiritual pillar, so you should understand the importance of Xiaoru to your mother. Now that you have returned, your mother knows in her heart that you are her biological daughter. However, the habits and love that Xiaoru has developed over the years by her side cannot change overnight, do you understand?" Xu Cheng's heart is full of mixed flavors. Chapter 9. How dare you? You are listening at novelfull.audio. She had never imagined that Jiang Bai would have mental problems. No wonder Jiang Bai struggled to apologize after getting angry in the clinic before. At that time, Jiang Bai's condition was indeed very strange, as if his whole body had been split in half. "I see. So, Xiao Cheng, can Dad ask you to give your mom a little more time?" Lin Fei respectfully begged. Without hesitation, Xu Cheng agreed directly, Dad, don't worry, I know what to do. That's good, Dad, go and see Xiaoru again. She has a serious heart disease, and the situation just now is probably quite serious. I'll go check the situation. Dad, then I'll go with you. Xu Cheng immediately followed. Only the corner of his lips curved with a hint of mockery. Heart disease. To deceive who? Well, you are sisters. It's best to live in harmony. Let's go. Lin Feigong didn't think much about it, and led Xu Cheng to Lin Ru's room. When the two of them entered Lin Ru's room, they heard Lin Ru pulling Jiang Bai and crying in anger, constantly shouting, Mom, Mom, I didn't poison. Xiaoru, how are you? Do you still feel pain? Lin Feigong walked over and asked. Suddenly hearing Lin's disrespectful voice, Lin Ru hesitated for a moment and looked up to see Xu Cheng, as well as the sarcastic tone on her lips that was not even hidden. Lin Ru was instantly provoked. What are you doing here? I don't want to see you, Mom. You let her go, I don't want to see her. As soon as Xu Chengkai raised his head, Lin Ru seemed to be greatly stimulated and suddenly hugged Jiang Bai, crying and shouting, Mom, I don't want to see her, I don't want to see her. After shouting a few words, everyone present suddenly changed their faces. Jiang Bai instinctively frowned and turned to look at Xu Cheng. Although she tried her best to conceal it, she still allowed Xu Cheng to see the slightest hint of dissatisfaction. Xu Cheng's heart suddenly became dull. Even if she had to live a lifetime, even though she knew that Jiang Bai was driven by illness, there was still a slight sadness in her heart. In both past and present lives, she had hoped to receive love. Otherwise, she would not immediately contact her biological parents after being reborn. Xu Cheng immediately turned his head, his sharp eyes fixed on Lin Ru's face, who was hiding in Jiang Bo's arms. What exactly does this woman, who is full of lies and behaves harshly, want to do? Xu Cheng never thought about causing any trouble when he returned. The cause of death of Ku's biological parents and Lin Ru's eerie behavior, no matter which one, made it impossible for her to stop. Mom! Xu Cheng suddenly burst into tears. Suddenly, it startled everyone present, even Lin Ru was startled. Mom! Xu Cheng cried and ran over, grabbing one of Lin Ru's hands. Lin Ru was surprised and looked up to meet Xu Cheng's bright red eyes. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears, and against the backdrop of her red nose, she looked particularly pitiful. Xu Cheng and Lin Ruchang are somewhat similar. This natural mother-daughter nature, combined with their resemblance in appearance, instantly made Lin Ruchang feel a bit flustered. Almost subconsciously, she released Lin Ru's hand and wrapped it around Xu Cheng's hand. Xiao Cheng, why are you crying? Sorry, Mom didn't mean to talk to you so loudly just now. Don't be upset, will Mom apologize to you? Mom is also because she is as small as her. Xu Cheng suddenly hugged Jiang Bai, tears streaming down her face and smashing her neck. Drop by drop, it was like hot magma hitting his heart, causing Jiang Bai to panic uncontrollably in pain. Xiao Cheng, Mom. Mom, I actually didn't do anything. Today, my younger sister asked me to go see Mr. Hua for treatment. You know, you even stopped me at that time. Xu Cheng cried while reminding Jiang Bai. Memories were instantly stirred up, and Jiang Bai immediately nodded, yes, I was still blocking it at that time. But my younger sister insisted, and I thought to myself, I just came back. I definitely want to have a good relationship with my younger sister. Like my parents, you all hurt my younger sister so much, so I agreed. I felt Mr. Hua's pulse and confirmed that he was poisoned, so I'll be honest. Mom, isn't it right to be honest? Jiang Bai immediately nodded and said, yes, yes. To be honest, it's the best virtue, she said, wiping the tears off Xu Cheng's face with a panicked expression, but my younger sister seemed unhappy and said I was meddling in her affairs. But, Mom, you know, even though my younger sister forced me upstairs, why is she blaming me again now? Xu Cheng pushed Bai aside with grievances and looked at her firmly. Mom, I just came back, and I'm really uneasy in my heart. I don't know how to get along with you, my sister and brother, he said. I went crazy hoping to please each and every one of you. How could I do something that would make you unhappy? Mom, I don't want to make my sister unhappy, but I don't understand where I went wrong. Can you teach me? Bai was stunned for a moment, and when he came to his senses, he was filled with regret. Unexpectedly, what the butler had said to them before quietly crawled back into his heart. The butler has seen how the Xu family treated Xu Cheng. Xu Cheng had suffered so much before. How could she put her biological daughter in such a tense and uneasy state? Bai shed tears in an instant. I'm sorry, Xiao Cheng, I'm sorry, Mom, Bai wanted to explain, but he opened his mouth and realized he didn't know how to explain it. If something is done, it is done. Lin Ru is also her daughter. Her palms and backs are all flesh, and she doesn't know what to do. Mom, don't cry. Seeing you cry makes me even sadder. Xu Cheng nervously raised his hand to help Bai wipe his tears. I came back hoping that you all would be happy. But if my return makes you all unhappy and causes you to be in trouble every day, then I would rather leave. Xu Cheng's eyes were fixed as he looked at Bai. Bai's heart panicked as he tried harder and harder to grab Xu Cheng's hand. What are you saying, child? Let's go. Where are we going? You are my daughter, the daughter of the Lin family, and this is your home. Don't say such things again in the future. Bai hurriedly finished these words, as if suddenly thinking of something. He turned his head to look at Lin Ru and said, Xiao Ru, I don't think you have much to do for now, and I know you have some misunderstandings with Xiao Cheng. So, I'll take Xiao Cheng out first and have a good conversation with her. You are sisters. You must get along well, you know. Lin Ru was stunned and stood there, unable to recover for half a day. Bai didn't have to wait for Lin Ru to speak. He bent down and lightly patted the back of Lin Ru's hand, then turned around and left, pulling Xu Cheng. Sister, then rest well. When your mood stabilizes, I will apologize to you again, Xu Cheng said gently. Lin Ru's face couldn't help but change with anger. She looked up and met Xu Cheng's deliberately provocative eyebrows and eyes. Intentionally. Damn it, this woman did it on purpose. How dare she dare on earth. Chapter 10. Such relatives. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. What if she is the true daughter of the Lin family? She is the true daughter who has lived in the Lin family for over 20 years. No one can take away the status, honor, or property that originally belonged to her. Xu Cheng didn't wait for Lin Ru to speak and accompanied Bai out first. Lin Feigong stayed behind. When the sound of the door closing rang, Lin's disrespectful expression immediately sank. Lin Ru also suddenly became nervous. She always knew that her foster father was not easy to fool. Over the years, she has never dared to make a fuss in front of Lin Fei. Now, his expression is so solemn. Is it difficult for him to know about her tampering with Mr. Hua? Xiaoru, you're my daughter, that's right, but Xiao Cheng is also my daughter, my biological daughter. Lin Feigong deliberately emphasized the word biological in his tone. Lin Ru's face turned pale immediately. She lifted her head and her eyes were blurred with tears. Dad, I don't want to emphasize anything. In my heart, you are in the same position. The Lin family has always been friendly and harmonious, and I don't want any changes to happen. I hope you can understand what I mean. Lin Ru cried and wanted to apologize. Dad, I was wrong. I shouldn't argue with my sister. I don't know what role you played in the Hua family, let alone whether the poisoning incident is related to you, Lin Fei interrupted Lin Ru again. Dad, do you also doubt me? Lin Ru's expression stiffened. You are my daughter. Lin Feigong said. Lin Ru was suddenly trembling with fear. What does he mean by this? Lin Feigong's words were a reminder to her that if she were not his daughter, she might not be able to end today's matter. Not his daughter, not his daughter. The unprecedented strong perception made Lin Ru feel panicked. She has always felt that being so excellent is her own reason and has never relied on the strength of the Lin family. But these past few days have made her understand how important it is to have a good background. She must never lose her current glory, never. Xiaoru, this matter must be explained to the He family. It's best for you to handle it as soon as possible. As long as it's really not something you did, Dad will explain it to the He family for you. Alright, you're also tired today. Take a good rest first. When your body recovers, hurry up and investigate the whole matter. Then, I'll accompany you to the He family. Anyway, delaying Mr. He's illness is inappropriate for us. Lin Ru's hand, hidden under the blanket, suddenly locked tightly, as too much force made her nails sink deep into the flesh. Damn it! Why did he treat her like this? How can their father-daughter relationship over so many years not be compared to that little bit of shallow blood relationship? He must be so harsh on Xu Cheng because of that woman. It must be like this. Xu Cheng, you shouldn't have come back. Half hanging his head, Lin Ru's eyes were filled with jealousy and anger. Dad, I'm sorry for causing you trouble. It's because I have a loophole in my handling of things. It's embarrassing for you and the Lin family. What are you doing with all this? Lin Fei frowned as if he didn't want to see Lin like this. If something happens, just solve it. Alright, you take a good rest first. Our company still has something to do, so we need to go back to the company first. If you need any help, feel free to call me anytime. Lin Ru obediently looked up at Lin Fei and said, Okay Dad, thank you Dad. Lin Feigong gave a few simple admonitions again and turned around to leave. As soon as they left, Lin Ru was extremely angry and brushed everything on the bed to the ground, causing her face to contort. One by one, they are all white-eyed wolves. In the past, I treated you so well and treated you filial like my biological parents, but when that little slut was found back, you treated me like this. Eccentricity. No conscience. Okay, since you are ruthless, don't blame me for being ruthless. Lin Ru gave a cold smile and picked up her phone to make a phone call. Big brother, there's trouble with poisoning. I need your help. The conversation was divided into two parts. Xu Cheng chatted with Jiang Bai for a long time, and their relationship improved a lot. Later, Xu Cheng saw that Jiang Bai was not very energetic, so he sent him back to his room to rest. She took care of Jiang Bai and fell asleep. She walked out of the room and had just closed the door when someone patted her shoulder from behind. Almost instinctively, Xu Cheng immediately grabbed the person's hand and threw it over his shoulder to greet them. Oh my butt. A painful cry came from behind. Xu Cheng immediately turned around and saw a man wearing casual clothes with handsome features lying on the ground, covering his waist and buttocks in a mournful cry. What kind of person are you? I don't know if it's wrong to shoot people from behind. Who do you want to scare? The man looked aggrieved and said, I said sister, I just wanted to say hello to you. Who knew you would have such a big reaction? Who should I call my younger sister? Xu Cheng frowned even deeper. Don't think calling my younger sister is enough to get close to me. It's not right for a big man to act from behind a woman. But you are really my sister. The man was stunned. I am your fifth brother Lin Yuyao. Xu Cheng. Did you call the wrong person? Brother Wu, I'm sorry. Xu Cheng awkwardly stepped forward to help Lin Yuyao stand up. I just instinctively reacted. Are you okay with your waist? Lin Yu immediately tightened his face, straightened his spine, and said, how could my waist be okay? Sister, a man's waist must not be okay, you understand. Xu Cheng.The. Sister, I heard you're back. I just got off the plane and came back to find you. Sister, you're even more beautiful than I imagined. Lin Yu looked at Xu Cheng, his eyes glowing. I am already someone with a younger sister now. Look at those bastards, how dare they dare to brag in front of me. They have a younger sister now, as if no one has one. Xu Cheng felt strange upon hearing these words, but don't we have a younger sister? Are you talking about Xiaoru? Lin Yu's expression became less enthusiastic. Although Xiaoru is very well behaved, she is not the one I like. Alright, let's not talk about her. Let's go, fifth brother will take you to a place. Lin Yu pulled the person and left. Brother Wu, where are you taking me? Xu Cheng felt helpless. Lin Yu chuckled lightly without looking back, you'll know when you go. Xu Cheng actually doesn't like to get along with people very much. In her past life, she suffered greatly. Although she was not afraid to see people, she did not like to have too much contact with them. Lin Yu, who is naturally familiar, seems to not give her a chance to refuse at all. But Xu Cheng quickly became calm and right. It's her fifth brother, it's her relative. Xu Cheng couldn't help but curl his lips.